Hello, I'm Cynthia Lopez, Vice President for POV. Today I'm joined by filmmaking team Marion Lipschutz and Rosenblatt. Their most recent film, The Education of Shelby Knox, was our 2005 opening program. It is a coming-of-age story of a young girl in Lubbock, Texas, who transforms from a conservative, abstinence-until-marriage pledging Southern Baptist to a democratic feminist and supporter of gay rights.
How do you explain homosexuality, like in a biblical sense? How do you explain why it comes about, like...
Because of what Romans 1 says.
No. I mean,
trade the natural function of their body
other than the Bible.
So why do you
how
think they
do
do it?
you personally explain it? How do you personally?
How do you explain pornography?
you just said we have the freedom to get the information that we want. But in Lubbock, the Lubbock Independent School District, we didn't have that freedom.
If you don't like it, go to a private school. If you don't like it, go to a charter school.
No.
If you don't like it, go get your GED. Make a choice.
If I don't like it, I'm trying to
it.
change it.
Live Free or Die, a portrait of a small-town OBGYN doctor, explores the radical decline in the number of doctors performing abortions. It aired on POV in 2000 to critically acclaimed reviews. Let us talk today about film and feminism. Welcome Marion and Rose, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having us. It's great to be here.
Tell us a little bit about your filmmaking process.
One film kind of grew out of the last film. So for instance, with Live Free or Die and with Shelby, Wayne, who was an OBGYN who did abortions, was involved in a sex education scandal in his school, his kids' school. So we got a little versed in that topic, and so the next topic seemed to kind of grow out of it. We were interested in it. We had kids that were at the time at high school age. So all that synergy came together in a way, and then we decided also by looking at the funding pool and realizing this is another controversial issue. There is probably funding for this because we have to go out and raise the money. So that's a big consideration as to what we do next. And that's kind of how it worked with Live Free or Die to Shelby.
Part of what makes a good film for our process is you read some fact in the paper or some story, you go, holy catfish, I can't believe the world doesn't know and isn't as excited or upset about this as I am. And often those subjects are also rich ones. There's a lot you can say beyond just sort of the obvious facts. So we'll look for a story like that.
Now tell us a little bit about how you select your subjects.
You're looking for someone who's looking for you, but they don't exactly know what they're looking for. You might, so you have a little advantage there. But then you meet, and a chemistry happens. And after doing a couple of films, you understand what's called charisma, or the kind of telegenic quality that you need in a character to carry a film. The whole thing is, can this person carry this film? And when you send somebody who is, you do the dance with them. And you pray that they, everybody has always been skittish. And Shelby herself, when we first met her, she thought she was okay. She was likable in a lot of ways, but we didn't think she was actually a good character because we thought she was a drama queen and would skew the film, and she grew into a role. So there was this transformation, and there was this way in which we worked with her. We transformed, she transformed. At a certain point, I always like to say that she began to direct the film. That may happen
always
a lot.
Happens.
Of people.
People always, they get the hang of it, and they start working with you, and when we say it's collaborative, and then the next thing you know, they're telling us as filmmakers what to do.
But the way that she grew was always surprising, and the way her parents grew was surprising. And how difficult, it was a very difficult, ironically. When you see a film and it's finished and it has that sense of inevitability, like, it seems so easy. Yeah, it just kind of flows and it's easy, but, filmmakers know the agony you go through to get to that ecstasy.
I'm telling you right now that if you attempt to implement a comprehensive sex education program in Lubbock, it's not going to fly. Shelby, there are principles that you ought not to change either. I mean, you have made a pledge, the True Love Pledge weights, for a reason, okay?
Yeah.
You made it a reason because it was the morally and correct right thing to do.
You will not tell me, no one tells me how to be a good Christian. I don't think I'm compromising my morals at all. Me as a person, as Shelby Danielle Knox is saying I'm not going to have sex until I get married. Okay, but there are some people that don't have the support, the family, the church that I do.
Putting a face on social issues is the most difficult thing that we do, because you don't want to, education's a bad word. And at the same time, you don't want to exploit, you don't want to trivialize, you don't want to be superficial, you want to get at the depth and not have people know what you're doing. That's very tough.
And trust, you're still involved with Dr. Goldner's family and Shelby's family. How do you build that trust? And then how do you maintain it post all the hoopla of the film?
Trust is easy. I mean, you're making friends with somebody and you're making a film about them. How could you make a film if they don't trust you?
When you first meet them, you want them to be in your film. They're nervous about it. They don't know if they want to be in your film, so they have to sort of begin to trust you. And that takes a certain amount of time. And it shows in the film, like the first footage, first third of the stuff that you shoot is always different than what happens with that critical point. And you can see it in the footage when they do begin to trust you.
This is a despicable thing that you did tonight, and we will keep going and going and going with this. This was despicable. You gave in to terrorists.
No, we didn't.
You
We
gave
tried to
in
feel
to
what- make the
terrorists.
decision we felt
You,
was best for the
bottom line
schools.
is you gave in to terrorists.
Do you consider yourselves making political films or feminist films? What kind of films do you make?
Social issue films with a human face, and you just have to do all the homework. They're political because they're social issue, and you have to be very well versed in that. You'll make a better film if you really know really understand the politics, and that's why you're making a long format film, because you have to go into great depth. You have to understand all the contradictions. You can't be partisan. I mean, there's you can have a point of view, but that's different than there's a real distinction between being partisan and having a point of view.
Well, whapping someone over the head with propaganda.
But you do have to know this. But we're not journalists. We're not journalists.
But we do ground it, actually. When Rose says we're not journalists, we do read both sides of an issue. Yeah, we make political films. We make films with a point of view. But we take sort of the big points, like lots of money spent on abstinence, or Comprehensive seems to do a better job with pregnancy prevention. You find out really what the science is saying, what the researchers are saying, you find out what everybody's saying about it, and then to the best of your ability, you get that into the film without cramming it full of yada, yada, yada.
What makes a film successful is when people have that aha moment, whatever that moment would be for them, and they get it, but they feel like they've been given enough information. They haven't been manipulated, and they've given enough that they can come to their own sense of what they think. That's when it's really successful.
What are the biggest challenges that you had with making films that you made?
Story. That's the hardest, I think, finding the story. You go, you shoot, you don't shoot anything. You shoot what you think is your story, but then you're editing. And when a story works, it's inevitable. It's like syntax. One sentence follows the next, one scene follows the next. It just should be where it is. But until you get to that point, it's hell.
For young women who are starting out today, what advice might you impart in terms of your filmmaking process or in terms of the business side of documentary making?
The biggest challenges for every filmmaker has got to be, if they don't have money, getting the money to make the film you want to make. It's not a very exciting answer. You want to hear about, the character wouldn't cooperate, or, the film fell apart, and all those things happen. Editing's tough, production's tough,
those are challenges.
But you can manage those. It's having the wherewithal. Find great people to work with. That makes a huge difference. Find people you're simpatico with. Some people can do it alone, but I think it's a lot easier with other people.
Today is October 24th. From Washington, this is CNN Saturday. I'm Gene Randall. The death came hard on the heels of an FBI warning that doctors who perform abortions might be targeted. Last night, near Buffalo, New York, Dr. Barnett Slepian, at home with his family, was killed by a sniper.
You know, when a policeman gets up in the morning and goes to work, he can get killed, and you just don't think when a doctor gets up in the morning and goes to work that he can get killed. But you have to take risks in life, and this is one that I feel very, very strongly about. When I trained to be an OBGYN, there was no question that this was part of an OBGYN's job. There was no question. There was not even a question about it. But I would quit the day any of you said to me, Dad, you got to quit. Want me to quit?
No.
Were there any trends in the last 18 years in terms of documentary making that you think, you know, our audience would like to know more about?
It's a tough business. There are more documentaries out there, but there are more people making them. I think the storytelling has gotten much better. Some of that's technology, some of it's the number of people doing it, reality TV, lots of things feeding into that. So it's changed in that way. More people see docs, more people think they're entertaining. They are.
The attention span has changed tremendously. And we're talking long format. We've dedicated our careers to doing long format. We love long format, and I think it's in crisis.
You think it's in crisis, and what do you? Why do you say that?
We're competing against, as I say, stuff that gets on the web, 2-3 minutes. The attention span of young people coming up the ranks. They don't want long format necessarily, and you're also competing against feature films. You're competing against narrative because reality television has appropriated documentary. So it's hard to know exactly what documentary is in a way now. It's a conglomerate of a lot of things.
What do you do? What do you?
The partnership. I of course disagree.
Oh, okay. So tell us.
I think it's tough for us at the moment. There've never been a ton of docs being made. At least now they're being seen. People are, you know, they don't have documentaries don't have capital big E educational science, you know, or my health class written all over them. So I think that's positive. There's never been an easy time to make documentaries. I think there's more of an audience now.
Now, you both seem like stubborn women.
Oh,
So
God, are we stubborn.
I asked myself, how does that creative tension work? And how do you keep it pleasant?
We have a fair amount of conflict.
But how do you resolve conflict, creative conflict?
We have a fight. Then each of us, I think, thinks about what the other person said and grudgingly first admits to ourselves and then slowly admits it to the other, or we have a fight and we don't talk about what we took from the other person, but then next time we're talking, I go, she heard me.
Well, we do come to certain points and we want to go in different directions.
Like the scene we've just been arguing about.
Yeah, we're arguing about a scene in the film now. So we do come up against that problem, and finally the arbiter of that is what works. And we come to that, you know.
Well, Rose said you won the last one, so I went, okay.
But then you screen it. It's either going to work or it's not going to work.
And then we'll go with what works.
And then we go with what works. I've chosen filmmaking as my career because it's a wonderful way to learn about life. There's a story everywhere. And as a filmmaker, what you have to do is just excavate that story and discover it. And it's like the layers of an onion. You just peel away layer after layer, and you think, sometimes you think you've got it and you understand the story, and then the next time you're there, you discover that's not it at all, and something else is happening. So you have to be really quick and on your toes and always discovering, and it's just thrilling and exciting.
We make films because we love the process, and there are issues that we care very, very deeply about, but they're often abstract issues. And the chance to go out and find real people that exemplify abstract ideas, find a story, shape a story around it, communicate something very important is an incredible opportunity. It's very exciting, it's wonderful, you never know what you're going to find.
As filmmakers, when you're celebrating your 50th anniversary of making films, what do you want people to remember you for?
Good God, 50th anniversary?
I suppose that we got better and better and better and better and better. That we didn't give up on our ideals in a way, that we kept fighting this quote-unquote good fight, I guess, that we learned, that we grew. I just really hope that we grow. And
I think it's an ephemeral art, so I kind of wish I was writing books or something that would last. So it's really just going to be a spirit that I hope we pass on. I don't know, maybe the net will change that and people will continue to see our films the way people used to continue to read books. Hope so.